Welcome back to Empowered and Out, the career coaching podcast, the show where we fully have real conversations about career, confidence, authenticity, leadership, and what it truly means to build a life that reflects who you are. I'm your host, Coach John, and today's guest has one of those stories that reminds us transformation is rarely a straight line. Steven Whyte has spent his life asking one simple question: why? That curiosity has taken him from growing up in a small Scottish town to pursuing acting, to becoming a successful lawyer, to losing more than 130 pounds, becoming a personal trainer, winning an Attitude magazine cover competition, being crowned Mr. Gay Scotland, performing with the London Gay Men's Chorus, and now coaching gay men in midlife to build confidence, identity, purpose, and self-worth. He's also someone who's experienced setbacks, relapse, self-doubt, career changes, family challenges, and the realization that lasting transformation isn't about changing your body, it's about changing the way you see yourself. I have a feeling you're going to hear pieces of your own story in Steven's. So, Steven, welcome to Empowered and Out.
Thank you so much for having me, John. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. What an introduction. Wow. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, Steven, before we jump in, I do this with all my guests. I do
Sure.
what I call an energy check-in.
Yeah.
And I know that you, of course, because where you're located, you're at the end of your day. I'm
Mhm.
about almost midway to the middle of my day where I am. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how is your energy, or how has your energy been today? And what's contributing to that number?
My energy right now, I would say, is probably a 7.5. What's contributing to that is that I've got dinner soon. It's almost dinner time here, so I'm looking forward to my dinner. But it's also a beautiful day here in Sweden. We've had some really lovely weather, so the sunshine just makes everything feel so much more positive. So that really helps. I've also taken a little bit of time off my day job, so it's been nice to have a little bit more time for myself. So I had a really good gym session this morning. I've been out going for a nice walk. Yeah, so just enjoying some of this Swedish summer, which is very special when you can have it.
Awesome. I love that. I would say I'm actually probably like an 8.5.
Ooh,
Just getting my day started, but I'm so
yeah.
excited to have our conversation. I have a very full plate on interviews this week for this podcast. So I'm very excited, and everyone is going to be kind of different. So listeners, stay tuned. It's going to be fun. And, as much as we were just talking off air before we started recording, it's a warm one right now, but I like that rain is in the forecast. And for those who know, I live in Colorado and we're literally on fire right now. And have been for the last month. And I'm very excited that rain is in the forecast. It's especially hitting the mountains. So very, very excited about that because we need those 100,000 plus acres to be put out
Oh, yeah, for
because
sure.
it's just very much struggling. But for me, I'm doing awesome. I'm doing great today. I had a great weekend. I had a great last week, and I'm excited for what's coming. And so, yeah.
I'm glad to hear it, John. That's amazing.
All right. So looking back, when you think about young Stephen growing up in Scotland, what do you wish that he knew that he couldn't possibly understand back then?
I think for young Stephen, I don't think he would ever realize that it would actually be okay, that it would actually eventually all work out. Because I think for him growing up in the 80s when he was a child, so I was born in 78. So very much my childhood years were in the 80s. And, you know, being gay was it was not a good time to be gay. I knew from a really young age that there was something different. I didn't really know gay existed, but I think I would want him to know that it would all eventually work out and that you wouldn't, I mean, there'd be ups and downs, absolutely, but that eventually it would all come together and that you would be all right. Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, obviously, you spent many years trying to convince yourself that you weren't gay going into the
Mm.
gay. Looking back, what do you actually think that you were afraid of?
I was afraid of being different. I mean, I knew I was different. So I have one older brother and he was incredibly sporty. He was captain of the first 11 football, soccer team. You know, he would go to watch football, soccer with my dad every Saturday. You know, they tried to take me along. I would just not to be into it. I wanted to go shopping with mom. So I was very clear that I was very different from a very young age. And that difference really terrified me because we had a very close family. I was very close to my parents, but I knew I was different. And I was really worried that I was eventually going to be, I guess, rejected or thrown out by them. Or I remember them making, gay jokes even. And I was like, oh my God, when I started to understand what gay was, that's how they would view me. And then, would I be ostracized from my family? And where would my place in the world be if not with this family? Because that's your world at that age to some
Yeah.
extent. Yeah. So I think that was what I was most afraid of at that age. Yeah. I mean, strangely, it's part of that. I was quite into the drama of it. I don't know, as an older child and a teenager, that angst that came with it kind of all sort of fit together in that kind of My So-Called Life TV show way. It was like, oh,
Hmm.
I can see myself in that in Dawson's Creek. But yeah, ultimately, it was all about not wanting to be rejected or thrown out or, yeah, being ostracized. Yeah.
I mean, that's very understandable.
Mm.
I played a lot of sports. I kind of was thrown into sports as a kid. I mean,
Okay.
one of them, I was thrown into swimming because my mom had actually swam competitively as a kid. So I was thrown into that. I loved swimming. I did it way after I was done like competing. I just loved swimming. But I mean, I played soccer or football, as you
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
know what is better. And I played, which I still kind of find just such an odd sport, but I get it. T-ball back in the day.
I don't know what T-ball is.
So you put the ball on a little stand, and then you actually the player like hits the ball instead of someone pitching it to you. They place the
Okay.
ball on and then you hit it. Probably because they thought, and we did this like in elementary school. So pretty much they knew that we weren't going to hit a ball that was being thrown at us. I mean, I would have probably jumped out of the way being afraid I was going to get hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and personally, I didn't really like soccer. It was a
Yeah.
lot of running up and down and I loved going back and getting in the pool and swimming. Yes, I was swimming laps and I understand that, but that was way better than having to run across a huge, field to go back and forth, and it just
Yeah.
wasn't my thing. So,
Do you think
but
there's an element of that about, sorry, I'm asking your question, I hope that's okay, about
yeah.
being on your own and being kind of doing it as an individual? Because I used to play tennis. I know, yeah, you're playing with somebody else on the other side, but you're not part of a team. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it was because I felt a little bit isolated or more like it was different. It made more sense to do individual sports as opposed to being part of a team sport.
I can see that. I mean, really what I strived and loved the most really was the individual sport.
Yeah.
And I think I loved it, and because I was always competing against myself. Like
Mm,
I pushed myself. Yes, I mean I had to qualify for certain things to go to certain, meets to compete, but in the end it was really about me. I
yeah.
was never in swimming, I wouldn't say never. I was rarely put onto a relay because I wasn't the fastest, but I wasn't the slowest. I excelled in just the individual events. So there was no
Yeah.
point in putting me in that type of relay. But I mean, even I did crazily, I even did like the obstacle course races at one point. And kudos to the people that do it. They really kick your butt, but I have no
Yeah.
desire to. I can't. I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad that I challenged myself to do it. And I
Yeah.
love that people who do it, like partially, I got into it because I had some friends doing it, and then I was like, all right, this is cool. We'll do this. And then eventually, my best friend and husband were doing it, and we were on two different days of the race, but at least I got to go and see them compete, do their part of it. And then I got to go and do it the next day, which was benefit for me because then I could ask them, okay, what about this on the course? What about this? What about this? So it was advantageous for me to go that day.
Yeah.
But crawling under like barbed wire and water and all the like in going through mud pits and climbing
Yeah.
walls and rope walls and all that craziness. No, thank you.
Yeah.
It really puts your body through the ringer, I'll tell you that, because my first race, I thought I was never going to finish.
Yeah.
But then it helped me because then I became better because I knew exactly how I needed to train. Because
Mm,
it's an obstacle course is something that you kind of like a marathon. I did a half marathon. There are certain ways you have to train to be prepared to succeed in it.
yeah.
And me swimming down a pool and for a swimming race is completely different than how you compete for climbing over a wall and, doing those
Mm,
types of obstacles. So, I mean, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that I challenged myself to do it.
yeah.
But now in my 50s, there is no way that I'm ever doing that again.
Yeah.
But I can say that I've done it and I competed, and I succeeded. And the great thing, again, you're competing against yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved. Even when I was doing the smaller running races, in the end, I was competing against myself. I wasn't
Mm,
competing against anybody else. I didn't care if I happened to come in behind a friend of mine. It was about me and my
yeah.
personal time that I wanted to see. So, all right.
Mm,
So, your best friend read your diary and it could have gone terribly wrong, but it
yeah.
actually became one of the safest moments in your life. How did
Mm.
that shape the way that you trust people today?
Well, that's a really good question. So, for a bit of background, it was my 14th birthday, and my best friend came over to the house. And I wasn't having a party or anything. He was just coming to hang out because it was my birthday. And we're up in my bedroom, and he found my lockable diary, which says so much about it anyway. But he was really curious to know what was in it. And he went into the bathroom with it and locked the door. And he ripped it open, broke into it, which that moment was absolutely terrifying because there was a lot in there about him
Mm,
because I was madly in love with him. I knew this at that age, absolutely. And I was terrified about what he was going to say, what he was going to do. My parents were sat downstairs watching television, and I was just utterly terrified. But he came out and he was okay, which was really surprising because it's not what I expected. And I mean, we as friends do anyway. We drifted apart a little bit, but we became friends again, maybe in the latter year of school. But I remember being at a party with a bunch of other guys, and there was a snowstorm actually, and we were snowed in. School was off, and so we all stayed at one of our friends' houses, and everyone had to share beds, and nobody wanted to share a bed with me because Stephen was gay. That would be gay to stay in a bed with Stephen, even though I wasn't out. I had girlfriends. I thought I'd done a really good
yeah.
job of convincing people, but I hadn't, and I got really upset. And I just remember he gave me this huge hug, and it was so important, and it still meant so much because it was a message to the other guys as well. But I guess how that has affected how I trust people. I think I think there's definitely something positive in there about humanity and that people can surprise you and that can,
Hmm.
you might be so terrified about something, but actually their reaction might be completely different. And often we often put our own perceptions on people before they give them a chance to actually show who they really are. And it's really important to remember that we have to give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes or give them that space and they can surprise us. And there is good in humanity. So I think there was that element for sure. Obviously, he was 14 as well. Breaking in somebody's diary is not brilliant. I wouldn't really recommend that to anyone. So there was definitely an element of mistrust there, but I think there was a massive positive came out of it the other end. That it made me feel really safe. And we went to the same university. And yeah, we had different groups of friends, but he was always kind of somebody that I felt safe around, which I think was really important, especially when I did come out when I was at university.
Nice. Yeah, hmm, that could have been a very interesting, yeah, situation to go through because
Yeah.
I mean, especially a lockable diary and the fact that he broke it open. But it's very telling of him though that he was accepting and he was fine, even though you said you wrote stuff about him and you were very much, into him and the fact that I think in some ways, because I think it's funny with straight men and gay men, they always are like, oh, they must be obsessed with me. A straight man's
Mm,
like, oh yeah, of course you're gay, of course you're going to be into me. Well, that's not, we're not going after straight people. We're not. But we might find a straight person attractive, but our attractiveness to them might be their personality. It might be something not sexually. I mean, it
yeah.
can be, but it may
Yeah.
not necessarily be. And I think that shows a lot of his character, though, how he reacted And then even later, like when no one would, stay in the same, same bed as you, and to give you a big hug, that shows that still he was supportive of you, even around all those others. And I think
Yeah.
that's it's huge, and it's important in my opinion that we always have that support in our lives,
Yeah.
especially in our community, because I think that's where frustrations lie, is when we don't have that support. That's where the unfortunate potential for suicide attempts, or you know all unfortunate those unfortunate situations can succeed, is when you don't have someone. And I pride myself at always being there for someone, even if I'm not. I mean, I had many gay men in my life growing up that, well, especially after I came out, that I was not attracted to them in any way, shape, or
Mm,
form, but I was there to support them when they were going through a rough time. Or maybe I was attracted to them and they weren't attracted to me. And it's like going, okay, well, in the end, this could be a friend, and that we can have that support, and that's fine. Like, I have many gay friends, now that, I mean, obviously I have a partner, so it's, I'm not looking for anything else there, but it's nice to see that you can have that support with someone and it isn't sexual, because everyone kind of assumes, oh, if you're friends with another gay guy, you must be into each other. And it's like, not
oh yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
You might have a love of music or theater or something, or sports, or whatever it might be, or, and so to have that common ground, that's no different than our allies, or the rest of everyone else. We just, because they do the same thing. They go to concerts, they go to theater, they do whatever,
Mm,
sporting events, they do all that. So we just happen to like people of the same sex.
we do. Absolutely. No, 100%, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think interestingly, it took me a long time to find that support after that. I think in my 20s, maybe we'll touch on that at another point, but it was only when I joined the London Gay Men's Chorus that I really found my people and found that
I get
support
that.
and felt safe. I mean, 200 gay men singing together every Monday night. I mean, it was a lot of drama, but it was a lot of fun at the same time. Yeah, a lot of big personalities, including my own potentially. But it was, but it was that was really the moment where I really started to feel comfortable and safe and supported. And it was, nothing sexual. It was just a love of
Yeah.
music.
Well, but yeah, you just said you're loving. I mean, I'm in a mixed chorus, what I
Mm,
do now, and it's an LGBTQ plus, choir, a chorus, and we do have straight people in there, but I mean, they're allies, but
yeah,
we definitely have probably a majority of gay men in there, but we have lesbians, we have trans, we have everything across the board, which last fall, right? No, last spring. So about was the first time that I've actually been in a chorus with someone who identified as trans. And it
okay,
was amazing. Like, it was very fun, because it's like, okay, this is someone who loves to do exactly what I love to do. They love to sing. And just because I identify as, as trans, okay, who cares?
yeah,
We're getting to do something that we both love.
yeah, absolutely. And it's a place you can be yourself, hopefully, which I think is super important. I think with singing and
Oh,
music and when you're
100%. Yeah.
performing, you give so much of yourself because it's so emotional and so exposing that
Yeah.
you you have to be authentic. There's nowhere to hide.
Exactly. So you've reinvented yourself several times
Yes.
with law, acting, fitness, coaching. Was there ever a moment when you realized success on paper wasn't the same as fulfillment?
I think it took me a long time to realize it. I think it took me a long time. I think I was always searching and chasing and wondering, well, maybe if I do this, if I keep achieving, but something still didn't feel whole, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it was probably only in the last 6, 7 years where I've kind of realized what fulfillment really means or what success really means to some extent. Because before, when I was, went to study law, I became a lawyer. I was probably doing it to have the acceptance and approval of other people as dramatic as that might sound, but I'm not sure I was really doing it for myself. My older brother, the sporty one, love him to bits, but he's like a super high achiever, straight, married to a doctor, like perfect family, and there was always an element of, well, okay, maybe I need to be a lawyer too then. Maybe that's what I need to do to be accepted. And don't get me wrong, I've carved out an amazing legal career. I made it my own. I think that was super important. I didn't want to be, a private practice lawyer being in a suit. It just doesn't work for me. I feel constrained. I feel like I can't be myself. So, but again, I was still searching, and people would always like, Stephen, you're going for another job. You're changing jobs. What are you looking for? And I was like, well, I'm looking for something where I feel where I can be myself
Mm,
and where I feel whole. Looking back, that's what I was doing.
yeah.
But, I moved into the music industry. I moved into teaching. I moved into the magazine publishing industry. I moved into fashion retail. And yeah, I'm still a lawyer today, but I've carved out this really great career. But at the same time, alongside that, I do my coaching, which is where, it's a mix of the body, the mind, identity work, and also having a bit of a purpose. And I think it was when I started doing the life coaching and the mindset coaching in particular, I realized that it's about understanding who you are as a person and being grounded and doing things for yourself. I don't mean that in a really selfish way, but in a way that feels right for you, that's in line with
Hmm.
your values. And that's what I think is really exciting about getting to middle age, because you can leave all that chasing approval, validation behind and actually just start carving a life out for yourself. And I think that is where success and fulfillment really comes to the fore.
I love that. And it is really funny. I wish we knew when we were younger that, hey, by the way, you're going to get to a certain point and you're going to go, okay, what do I really want to do? And especially with those like that authenticity and being able to be yourself in the workplace is so huge.
Mm,
And it's something that I strive in helping my clients, my coaching clients, because I feel that it's very important to be able to be yourself where you work because we spend a lot of time in the workplace. And if we
mm,
can't be ourselves, what are we doing? Like, why
yeah.
are we in a place that I feel there is, I wouldn't say like the perfect job, but I feel that you can find a place. I mean, there might be, but probably not because nothing's perfect. But I feel that you can potentially find that space, that workplace that you can get that authenticity. It may take some time.
Mm,
You might have to do some digging. It's probably not the big, huge companies or law firms or whatever that's out there. It could very well be a smaller company that
yeah.
is where you're actually able to be your authentic self. And so many people seem to get so tight, struggle in trying to get to that big company. And where
Mm,
in reality, the smaller ones sometimes are the best because even the last company that I was working for, the authenticity, the diversity, the inclusion was amazing. And I had
mm,
never seen that from a really big, large company before. And they've grown since I've been with them, but I think that they've still stuck to their core. They're always huge about having everyone and anyone to be their authentic self. And if you have a struggle with it, they want to know. They want to
yeah,
know that make sure you're getting that true comfortability, in your
yeah.
work life. So,
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, we're all full of contradictions. So I didn't have the best coming out story. I came out when I was just about to turn 20. It was 1998, day before Madonna released Ray of Light, or 2 days before. And I didn't have the best coming out with my family, but I remember after university and when I was applying for trainee lawyer jobs, which is what you had to do, I had this certainty that I didn't want to work somewhere where I couldn't be myself, which I think was quite ballsy for somebody who was, very early 20s in the late 90s. And I remember filling in these application forms, and there was, for big law firms
mhm.
and down in London. And there was a question, tell us about a challenge you faced in your life and how you overcame it. And I remember going, okay, well, the biggest challenge I've faced is my coming out. And I wrote about that. And I have to say, I got rejected from loads of law firms, but there was one law firm who, invited me for interview and I got the job and I was very authentic. And it was about being open and honest. I didn't want to hide myself because I thought that is no life for me to have to do that. And so I worked for this law firm and, I was openly gay there. And, I'm looking back, I'm really proud of myself for standing up for myself for doing that. And so I guess there's always been some sense of self within there. And I have to remind myself that sometimes when, we all go through hard times, but it's just like, look how far you've come. Look what you've done. You've been brave. You've been courageous. And without bigging myself up too much, but it's quite, like, well done for doing that, 20-year-old Stephen, I think. And then I ended up working for some amazing companies where I could be myself. And that was always really important to me. And I remember working for one company where there was a new CEO came in and my values just did not align with his. And I remember thinking, I have a choice. I have a choice. I can either stay here and be miserable and work for this guy who I'm not aligned with at all, or I can leave. And I left. And it was terrifying, but I'm just so glad I did it because it set me on this path to where I am now. And, I ended up working for other great companies and other teams and all of that, I think, because I was trying to be true to myself, even though I was still trying to discover who I was at the same time.
I love that. And I love that you were honest in your applications, because in my just thinking about it, wouldn't you want someone that's going to be that honest with you to tell you something that you challenged or were challenged with, that's going
Mm,
to, in turn, to me, I would think, well, that could definitely be a great person to come on board with, because wow, they're willing to put this information out there.
yeah.
They must be doing, they must be a pretty awesome person. But
Mm,
like you said, you got rejected, but eventually someone saw that, okay, this is actually good, we
yeah.
bring this person on board.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so one thing that really stood out in our conversation we had prior to us coming today was that you've experienced transformation more than once, and
Hmm.
relapse, unfortunately, more than once.
Yeah.
What finally changed when you realized transformation wasn't really about weight?
I mean, it's definitely the identity work and the mindset work and understanding who you are deep down and what you want and why, coming back to the why you want to change. So for the listeners and the viewers, I guess it's important to know that I used to weigh almost 300 pounds at one stage. I think that's the conversion. So 134 and a wee bit above kilos. And so throughout my 20s, I had a terrible relationship with food. Now I understand it's maybe not the food, it was the relationship with my feelings, and the food was something I used to help with that. But yeah, I ended up losing 60, 70 kilos. I can't do the maths quickly enough, but I think you,
That's
you,
okay.
you, you did it earlier. And, I trained to become a PT because I wanted to understand, how best to build muscle, because I ended up running the London Marathon. That was how I lost the weight, which I don't recommend doing that. By the way, that's not the way to do it. But over the course of a year training for the London Marathon, I lost 60 odd kilos. And I managed to keep it off for the best part of a decade, I would say, and it was a wee bit up and down, but, I was building
Yeah.
muscle, leaning out, that kind of thing. But it was when I moved to Sweden in 2020, January 2020. So just like a month or two before the pandemic hit. And me and my husband moved here and we had no support network. We didn't know anyone. And the life that I'd had in London with London Gay Men's Chorus, with my job, with all my friends, I had a life that was very active, it was very busy. Then coming to Sweden where we didn't know anyone, we didn't have quite the same lockdown that other people had, but I definitely felt like I'd lost my support structure, my scaffolding around, how I could be me. And my husband ended up going back to the UK to work. So he got stuck over there. I was in Sweden on my own. And I ended up resorting to that previous identity that I had, which was when you don't know how to sit with your feelings, you end up eating to compensate. And that's what I did. So I,
Hmm.
I was overeating and ended up I went up to about 104 kilos. So nowhere near the 134 kilos, but, it was, about 30 kilos more than I wanted to be, which is a lot of weight. And yeah, I realized at that point, I reached out to a coach, even though I was coaching people, but I was coaching people and it was around, your calories, your workouts. That's kind of what I'd been taught about how to lose weight. But I reached out to a coach called Matt, and he was the muscle mindset coach, I think, at the time, and introduced me to this concept of mindset. And I was like, Oh my goodness, how did I not realize this? This is the missing jigsaw piece. Of course, this is so important. And then he had another coach working with him, Kira, who's still my mindset coach, and understanding that it's really about mindset, identity, behavior change. That is the key to transformation, and being comfortable with yourself, being grounded with yourself, managing your nervous system, your emotions, understanding that they're just information. They don't need a reaction every time. That was super important. And sorry, I'm rambling, but luck would have it, the company that I work for here paid for me to do a personal development coaching course through the ICF. So, that was,
Nice.
it was just like, it all came together at the one time. I was like, this is something, this is how real transformation happens. So for me, I still love the physical transformation, like getting active, training, getting stronger, getting fitter, getting leaner, because that gives you that energy, that optimism. You build that self-trust, and that helps with your self-esteem and your confidence, and gives you energy, which then gives you clarity to think about, okay, who am I? What do I want? And it gives you that solid foundation. So I can't remember if that answers your question or not, John. I just got a bit excited.
It's okay, but I love it. You made such a good point, and I know listeners and viewers have heard and seen this before, especially because I brought it up with, especially with coaching, because oh my gosh, mindset. You said you nailed it. Mindset is so huge. A lot of where we have the issues and where our clients have issues, it's that mindset. Like
Mm,
we have to get out of our own head. We have to
totally.
make sure that what, like you said, the authenticity, being where you want to be, well, we're our own worst enemy because we're always judging ourselves. And I feel that when we are sometimes really good about listening to everyone else's opinion of what we should do, where should work, who we should be friends with, who we should be married to, whoever. And in that case, we need to listen to ourselves in a way, but we also need to make sure that we're in the positive and getting that negative out of there, because
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I'm sure you would agree, like that's huge. Like when you get to see the positivity, oh my gosh, I love mindset. I did like mindset training, like oh my gosh, I got certified in I was like, I love this. This is so
Yeah.
much fun. Like I
Yeah.
could have done like a million courses on mindset. Like it
Yeah.
was so much fun. I was like, this is so cool. And I know my friends around me who aren't, in coaching, what they're like, okay, sure. I'm like, no, I wish I had this when I was a swimmer back in the day. Like there's things that I've learned that I wish I had that I think
Yeah.
I could have excelled probably even more than I did, just because I
Yeah.
would have been in the right mindset to know that I could
Absolutely.
achieve
Yeah.
whatever I did. So, well,
Mm,
as coaches, we it's kind of funny because we're expected to have everything together and to know everything, which is
yeah.
funny
Yeah.
because in reality, we don't. But what was it like admitting, like you just said, you got your own coach, that you needed your own coach?
I mean, it took me a year of following this guy to go, okay, I need this. I need help. I need help.
Yeah.
And that, for somebody who is meant to have it all together, I had online clients. I was helping them lose weight, but I wasn't doing it myself. I was terrified of posting on social media because I didn't want to show how large I'd got, and so I was hiding behind cartoon versions of myself, and this is what I was
Mm,
using to promote myself. And it just got to the point where I was like, I need help, because I looked at myself in the mirror and I was just like, this, I just need help, and it was scary, but it was also, there was kind of like a calmness that came with it because I'd made the right decision. And it was my decision to make. And it, I felt like I had that support that I needed. And I think that's only a positive thing. It can feel hard to
yeah.
reach out and ask for help, but actually, when you give somebody some of what you're carrying and they're going to help you, I think it's incredibly brave, because I know clients, when they reach out to me, I'm always like, you are so brave taking this first step in reaching out and asking for help. So many people don't do it. They think they can do it
Yeah.
themselves, and they just stay struggling in a spiral. But actually stepping out, taking that brave step is key. And there's something quite liberating about it. There's like a weight is lifted off your shoulders and
Oh, for
all
sure. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because when I got into coaching, it had been brought up to me back in 2020. And I was like, okay, because I had started this podcast. I had started another podcast, and they're like, it was on positive motivation and self improvement. And a friend of mine was like, "This sounds a lot like coaching. Have you ever looked into coaching? Because you're already presenting yourself, you're presenting your opinions, you're presenting to the world, what you want, what you believe you should do." And I was covering mindset, I was covering belief, I was doing all these
Yeah.
things back then, and I was like, okay. And she gave me, someone to like a company that I ended up getting, certified with. And the funny thing is, the reason I got it initially and I chose them, I mean, I did my research, I looked, made sure, but they were running a huge special and it was crazy affordable. Like, I was like, oh, this is not bad. And I've learned some things since then, that maybe you shouldn't always choose the cheapest one, but they are a
Mhm.
great program and they were recognized. So it's not like I chose a bad program. I'm in a bad organization, but it took me probably 4 years to fully get certified because I
Mm.
wasn't in the right mindset. I wasn't really ready to dive into that coaching. And once I got back into it, and like, because I'd started a little bit of it, I did just the basic life coaching. And I was like, okay, sure, I get this. But I was letting other things control me. Like, one of there were two coaches that were kind of what the instructors that were teaching it. And one of them, it drove me crazy because he had an accent. It was kind of hard to understand him sometimes. And I was like, why am I making an excuse? Just do this. And and then when I finally took a step back, I'm like, this is what I want to do.
Mm.
So let's do this. And in the end, like, the mindset was still to this day, well, the mindset and then finding your purpose were the two that really stuck out to me and it goes hand in hand with what I do now. And so I was like, okay, because I always thought I'm going to be a purpose coach. Like, and of course, when I got into this other coaching group, they said, well, maybe you should be a career coach. I'm like, why? And they said, well, they do go hand in hand, and
Mm.
which is true, they do. But my passion was and still is in helping people finding their purpose.
Yeah.
Because if they don't know what they want to do and where they want to be, they're not getting that job.
Mm.
No matter what, it doesn't matter. They can, just because mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin, partner, whoever says, oh, you should be, just to put it out there, you should be a lawyer, but you have no desire to be a lawyer. But you're going to just follow that path because that's what all these people told you to do.
Yeah.
And then years later, after you've gone through law school and all the training, now you're into a law firm, now you're miserable. Well, maybe you should have really focused on what you really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because I'm seeing it more and more. There's so many people that are tired of what they're doing and want to change
Yeah.
because they're just not happy where they are. Now, some of it has to deal with that authenticity, that comfortability, that safety. But some people are also like, I can't do this anymore. I'm
Yeah.
not just not happy. It's not, I'm tired of making someone else wealthy where I could, and I'm miserable going, I have the Sunday scaries every single Sunday. I don't want to go into
Mhm.
work on Monday. And so, or as my partner does, flip on the screen, flip on the computer to log in because he works from home. So it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, you can't, you should never have those Sunday scaries. Your
Yeah.
ideal workplace, you should never have that. And I know the ideal part, like I just said earlier, is hard to potentially find, but you can find it if you have the right direction, aka
Absolutely.
a coach. We
Yeah.
can help you
Exactly.
get there. So,
Yeah.
but why do you think that so many people, it's kind of funny that I just said this, but why do you think so many people focus on changing what they do instead of changing who they believe they are?
Think there's an element of we like labels. So we're often defined by what we do, and people define us by what we do. So I think that is probably the quickest and easiest way to change things, or it looks like it is. I think instead of changing who you are, I think for a lot of gay men in particular, we actually don't know who we are.
Mm,
And I think that
so true.
is kind of key to all of this, because it's the first time maybe when you get to middle age where you have that space potentially, because you're not chasing the validation, you're not chasing approval. You kind of get a bit tired of all of that. And you kind of go, well, what is it for me now? But that's why I love coaching middle-aged gay men, especially because they're at this place where they are finally ready to stop performing Because I think a lot of time through teenage years, through 20s, through our 30s, it's, pretending we're straight. Or once we come out is then, well, I need to be the high achiever because I want to be, the A gay, or to prove to other people that I am worthy now that I'm a gay man and that I can succeed in this overachiever aspect that a lot of gay men seem to experience. But when you get to your middle age, and maybe it's through the exhaustion of all of that and just feeling tired, but you have this space where you go, and you've hopefully got a little bit more money. You've maybe got a nice apartment. So you have all that already. And that's kind of a good grounding. But then you go, okay, well, what is it I want? And that comes down to, well,
Mm,
who are you? What do you stand for? What are your values? And that's the bit I remember when I did values work for the first time, I was like, this makes so much more sense to have that kind of alignment with who I am and what
yeah.
it is I want, and understanding why I often felt friction with other people. Like, I think even with my parents, I remember not being fully aligned with their values. And remember, that was a cause of friction. And it was only with the benefit of hindsight, I realized that was what that issue was. So really, if it's about why change is hard in terms of, it's easier to maybe change what you do, because I think I did that. You're kind of changing jobs, changing companies you work for, always searching, but actually never landing. But it was only when I realized it was about understanding who I am and changing who I am and my
Hmm.
identity, smashing those limiting beliefs, changing the stories that I told myself. I mean, it's still a work in progress. I do not have it all figured out. I mean, even on Friday, I had to sit an exam for the first time. I'm doing a mental health and exercise coaching course, and I had the
Nice.
exam on Friday, and I haven't sat an exam in, I don't know, 20 years, but it was all online. And it was like, oh, this is, I'm quite nerve wracking. But my old mindset, my old identity of who sits exams was, you need loads of caffeine, you need bags of sugary candy, all of these things, to get you through this exam. And I was like, actually, no, I don't. I don't need that. But that identity was still there trying to weave his way through, you know.
I love that. All right. So obviously you just referred to it, and you've referred to it, your coaching a little bit as well. You clearly can see my notes because you just talked a little bit about what I just said. So and it's really funny because I think you nailed it on the head about gay men in their 40s and 50s. I mean, 100%. But why do you think that so many gay men hit a crossroads around their 40s and 50s?
Ooh, I think there's a number of things in play. I think we touched on already this kind of exhaustion from always performing, chasing approval, chasing validation. But I think why that feels so exhausting is because we can start to feel potentially a little bit invisible in gay spaces, potentially. We're often told that, when you turn 40, you're dead in gay years. I mean, that's just nonsense. Don't believe it.
No, it's
But
not true.
but it's one of those tropes that comes out all the time, and but also I think there's an element of where you might be in your career as well. It's like, how much of a promotion do you want? Do you want to be the CEO? Do you want to be the general counsel? Do you want to be at the top level? What is it? And I think you start asking yourself questions because you're often climbing a ladder, and then you get close to the top of the ladder potentially. And it's like, well, and I talked about this in a piece of content recently, and it's not my idea, and I can't remember who said it, but it's almost like the ladder is up against the wrong wall. And you get to the top of the ladder and you go, this ladder isn't where I want to be. I want to be up against that wall. And so I think there's something around starting to feel invisible, starting to feel a bit lost, that realization that this isn't it. And the exhaustion, I think that is where that space comes from, that you kind of, I mean, not everybody realizes it. Not
Yeah.
everybody realizes it, but they just maybe have this bit of an empty feeling. It's like, oh, something doesn't feel right about where I am in life. And also, we start to see our parents getting older. We start to see, our siblings getting older, and we're much more aware of our mortality. And I think that wakes you up in some ways too. Obviously, it's not limited to gay people. That happens to all of
Yeah.
us. But
That'll happen. Yeah.
you kind of think about, well, what are the next 30, 40 years going to look like for me? And, I'm experiencing it myself with my parents who both got health issues. I'm like, okay, well, it's now even more important than I look after my physical health, because I want to have longevity
Yeah.
as much as possible. So I think there's a number of factors come into play.
Do you think midlife, is it really a midlife crisis? Or is it just finally giving yourself permission to live honestly?
It's definitely the latter. I mean, midlife crisis, yeah, I don't believe that at all. I think I've talked about it in various ways, actually, almost like a midlife correction, but I think it is this midlife reawakening where you can actually become who you want to be. I think it's so exciting. It's like a renaissance. It's like I mean, I'm a huge Madonna fan, so, reinvention to some extent. Yeah, be inspired, yeah, by
Yeah.
Madonna because she reinvents herself. She's still going. Yeah, I don't believe in the midlife crisis at all. I think it's a really
I agree with
exciting.
you. It's funny to look back because when I look back at my parents, like when they were in their 40s, and I remember it was such a big deal. Ooh, they're over the hill. It's such a big deal. They hit their 40s. And now looking back, when I hit my 40s, I remember I'm like, okay. And I'm like, who
Totally.
cares? I
Yeah,
mean, and
yeah,
then the funny thing is, you just mentioned it. When I hit 50, that's when I really realized, okay, I'm done living for someone else. This is
yeah,
what I really want to do for me
yeah,
because I've lived enough and I'm not really where I want to be. Is it going to take some work? Sure, but I'm going to be happier on the flip side because I'm doing what I want to do because of everything around me. Like now it's come to a point that I want to be with my sister and be around with my niece and see, and still spend time with my mom and there's things that they didn't really come to kind of fruition until, like you said, until you get older and you're seeing your parents and you're seeing them aging and their potential struggles, and you kind of got to go, okay, well, let's make sure that that doesn't happen when I get to their age potentially,
yeah,
because I don't want to be in that position. And it's something that my sister has worked very, very hard on in her life, in her work life, and I know I'm, working on it as well, and I love it. But yeah, yeah, living honestly, I think is huge. And I think it's more important because you're going to be a lot happier when you're living honestly.
yeah. And who doesn't want to live happily, you know?
Exactly. All right. So throughout your story, one word that sticks out is courage.
Okay.
What does courage mean to you today in 2026 compared to what it meant when you came out in 1998?
I think courage in 1998 had a lot of fear behind it, fear of the unknown. Whereas courage now, I think it's more about excitement of the unknown, about the possibility that comes with it and being excited about change, about learning something new. Weirdly, I think one of my values is courage and curiosity. And actually now understanding that and embracing that as opposed to being scared of them,
Yeah.
I think is what courage really means to me. So it's about embracing the new and the unknown.
I love that. And you know what? I am the exact same way. I love the unknown. I do like things. I love being challenged. I love it. I'm ready and set for that challenge. Like every single challenge that comes up to me, I'm like, all right, boom, let's go. Let's try
Yeah.
this. Let's make this, and I don't feel that obviously not everyone has that, but I feel that it's interesting to see in the different generations how many people have their value, how strong they are in being challenged, or they like challenges, or even being courageous in what they do compared to potentially those who are, older, their elders, or those who might be younger than them. And it's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And even looking back on my life so far, when I was changing jobs, when I was searching, now I realize that I was actually being quite courageous in those moments. And other people would look at me and go, like, Stephen, what are you doing? Why are you changing jobs again? Why are you doing this? Why can't you just settle down? But it was because I was on my own journey and I was being courageous about trying to find my place in the world. And
I love
so,
that. All right.
you know, so
So if someone listening feels that they're hiding parts of themselves at work or in life, what's one small act of courage that they could take this week?
I think one small act, if maybe it's not a small act, but is ask for help if they need it. That is so brave to ask for help. It is not weak.
Hmm.
It is incredibly brave to do that. And so if they are feeling that stuck, know that there are people, I mean, obviously we're coaches, we sell a
Yeah.
service, but we love what we do. But it's
Right.
about know that there are people out there that can help you. And it's about finding the right person for you as well.
Hmm.
It's about having that connection with a coach. I think that's one thing that you can do.
I agree. All right. Well, we've been deep. We've been real. And like I mentioned before we started recording, this is rapid fire time. So this is where we
Okay.
get mildly unhinged but in the best way.
Okay.
So quick answers only, like I said,
Okay.
rapid fire. So, and it is only fitting that I ask you this first question because it is about Madonna. So,
Okay. With the pressure. Right.
so Madonna, and so let's just say that again, this is a rapid fire question. Madonna announces she's retiring and asks you to perform one song with her. Which song are you choosing?
Like a prayer.
Ooh, such a good song.
Yeah.
You're going back to the like old days,
I am.
like
I am.
OG Madonna back in the
Yeah.
day.
I mean, I did ask, I wrote into a television show in 1986 to sing True Blue with Madonna. I wrote it on the typewriter that I got for Christmas because I wanted to be like Jessica Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote. How did people not
Nice.
know I was gay? But yeah, it would definitely be like prayer.
I love it. So I have to do a side note. How do you like her new album?
Love it. It is amazing. Yeah, I mean, it came out just a couple of weeks ago, or just
Yeah.
over a week ago. It is. I was nervous as a Madonna fan, as a big Madonna fan. You get nervous for her and how people are going to respond to her. But I
Yeah.
love how people have responded to this album, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's incredible. Yeah,
It's so good.
so good.
Like it really, and one of my friends said this might be her best album, going all the way back to like Ray of Light. Like
Yeah,
that, there's just something about it that just it's hard to believe. Number one, how old she is,
yeah,
and she's
yeah.
singing these amazing songs. And dude, her daughter, ooh, girl can sing.
You
I was
can.
like, wow,
Oh,
and a
Lola, I love
beautiful
that song.
song.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful song.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
okay, I just had to say because
No,
yeah,
no,
I
I love
knew
it. I
that
love it.
I was so
You gotta
excited
book
to
that
like I'm
summer.
like, okay, I gotta ask Steven like about the album because it's so good.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So you can instantly master one completely random skill tomorrow morning. What would it be? That's one heck of a question. I'm
This
sorry.
one, the thing that popped into my head was like being able to make my own clothes. I don't know where that
Oh,
came from. I don't know where that would be. Yeah, I don't
all
know.
right.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I mean, I love clothes. I used to work in fashion, so it's always something I've thought would be good to be able to do. Bit random. It was the first thing that came to my head.
Awesome. Okay. Monty the Schnauzer secretly writes a memoir.
Okay.
What's the title?
Who's my favorite daddy?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, and last one. You have to spend 1 year living inside the world of a musical. Which one are you picking?
Ooh, this is
And that's
good.
hard because I have a few ideas, but then I'm going, but do I really want to live inside the musical?
Well, yeah, I mean, the one that sprung to mind, because I do love it, would be Cabaret, but that's kind of 1930s Germany. But it's kind of a Christopher Isherwood type. Well, I mean, it is, but that feels, I don't know, quite dangerous and quite sexy and quite exciting time to be in a musical. I did work front of house at Mamma Mia for 18 months, so I mean that would be
Oh,
nice too because you're in Greece. But
yes.
yeah,
Awesome. I love it. All right. So, Stephen, you've talked about courage, identity, purpose. We even talked about fitness, career, relationships, and finding yourself more than once throughout your life. If everyone listening forgot everything else from today's conversation except one sentence, what do you hope they remember?
I hope they remember to have the courage to ask for help and to be themselves.
I love it. So, Stephen, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is really funny how we got connected, and I have to say, I'm going to have to shout out to him, like, thank you, Joe, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be having these amazing conversations. So I feel very blessed and completely honored to have been able to have this conversation.
Oh,
So
thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so
Um,
much for having me. It's been a joy.
I love conversations like this because they're honest and they're not about pretending that transformation is easy. They're about showing what's possible when we're willing to keep growing, keep asking questions, and keep choosing ourselves. So if today's conversation resonated with you, I'd encourage you to connect with Steven, learn more about his coaching work, and follow the incredible work he's doing to help gay men step into confidence, authenticity, and purpose. And of course, if you're listening today and you've been feeling stuck in your career, disconnected from who you are, or wondering what your next chapter looks like, know this: you don't have to figure it out alone. And that's why I created my Empowered Career Transformation Program. It's to help professionals move from confusion and self doubt into clarity, confidence, strategy, and aligned action. So if today's episode encouraged you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this conversation with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep showing up, keep choosing courage, and remember, you deserve a career and a life where you never have to hide who you are. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.